So welcome back, and yeah, Radio Latino Inc. Thank you very much for the great opportunity to have us again with another edition of this show. And well, today we have with us a very, very, very special guest. Now, she's a personal friend of mine and recently a business partner as well. She's also part of the Forbes Coaches Council and a five-time bestseller author, Divya Parekh. It's such an honor to have you.
Thank you, Peter. It's an honor and privilege to be on your show. I appreciate
Oh, you know, you're going to be welcome here many times, I hope.
it.
So let's talk a little bit about your trajectory, because of course, when we start mentioning things like five times bestseller author, those are big words right there. Can you tell us a little bit about how that happened and what you're all about?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm just going to give a Reader's Digest version because I do have it pretty long.
Okay.
So since we talked, I've had several other books, come out. So I sent you five, but as I was going through and counting, it's actually now nine.
Whoa.
Number one, international best-selling author. So
Congratulations.
thank you, appreciate it. And you talk about, the story. How did I get here? So first of all, I want to share is, a lot of people will talk about their names. And to me, what's in a name? A name is just a name by, another person. And as everybody knows, a rose by any name smells the same. So I always ask myself, and I always ask you to ask yourself, what is your essence? And to me, I feel like I learn from nature. And for me, the closest thing that really impacts me are the trees as well as oceans. And to think about it, they're just there. They give, there is no like transactional value put on every interaction or anything like that. They're just being. And as a mindfulness practitioner, I want to share that that's where I come from. And that's my goal, and that's what I'm about, is being and helping others. Just by the fact, if you take a look at any tree, let's say a fruit tree, not only it will provide you fruits, it will provide you shade, it will provide you fertilizer, it will provide oxygen, it will take up your carbon dioxide, and it's part of the community. It is something, it's almost like they can, if you walk in the woods, there's so many different trees around, and you wonder, like, how are they coexisting? Not only coexisting, but thriving. And similarly, if you take a look at the ocean, it's playful, and yet at the depth of it, it's calm. And yet it's nurturing and sustaining. So that's what I'm about. Now, how did I arrive at my journey of being a best-selling author? So this goes back to my corporate world when I was transitioning out from my corporate world into the entrepreneurship, which is into the coaching arena. And as I was stepping into coaching arena, very thrilled. It was a great time. I was invited to be part of one of the coaching journeys, which was, as part of book writing journeys. So one of the coaches mentioned my name to a publisher, and the publisher invited me to be part of an anthology. And I was like, oh, it's one chapter writing in a book. It's easily done, because when you've written hundreds of pages of protocols and reports for FDA and pharmaceuticals and research papers and all that, oh yeah, 10 to 15 page chapter, what it's going to take, very little. So of course, you walk in with all that confidence. And of course, I did not know that confidence was probably bordering on overestimation of my capabilities. I sit down, I write. It doesn't work. I tried different modalities, like speaking into the phone, going and writing in my journal. Gosh, 1 month passed, 2 months passed. Couldn't write. So I reached out to the publisher and said, can you give me some more time? And she said, sure, yeah, I'll give you some more time. But still, I would print the pages, read it, and I just wasn't there. there was something that was stopping me. I would like crumble up the papers, and in the traditional manner, like you see like all the authors, they're getting frustrated and throwing it in that trash bin,
Yeah.
doing the same thing. And then she called me one day and said that, you know what, you're holding up rest of the authors. So I think so it's time that maybe you can come back in our next series. And blip. I had to take a really hard look at myself. Here I am, just maybe 2 or 3 minutes back, I'm telling you that, oh, I'm a mindfulness practitioner. I'm the one who believes in giving and all that. And then what happened was, because each and every one of us has blind spots, that's why I always say having a coach makes such a huge difference. I was in my blind spot, folks, and I couldn't see that I was holding people back. So of course, coming from a science background, I'm all about experimenting, experiencing, and then cementing. So I went ahead and worked with several coaches, took the writing programs and figured out how it could be done. It was just drinking from the fire hose, folks. Going right there, and I was able to finish my chapter on the delayed timeline, not on the real timeline, and able to catch up and got published. And from there, I should just say that it just opened up a whole new world for me. Writing reminded me what I used to love doing when I was a child, writing poems and stories. Just started coming back, and as I started, I wrote one book, really enjoyed it, wrote my second book, and then my coach told me, Divya, how is it that you are able to write these 2 books so fast, whereas you had such an issue writing the first time? And I told him, I worked with a lot of different coaches, and I worked with other coaches as well, and some writing coach and editors to get my chapter done. And he said, okay, wait. Before you had too much overestimation, and now you are here underestimating yourself. Let's sit down and take a look. Okay, go write your 3rd book and let's see what's happening there. And as I was writing, he said, okay, to document the process. And I just kind of started documenting the process, what I was doing. And he said, you got a process that's working. I'm like, oh, from not knowing anything what to do, it seemed like, here's the thing, right? Like there's so much knowledge that's out there that's common to all of us. Like you go into Google, you step into the nature, you see, roses comes in different colors. But how do you take that knowledge and make it your essence and become that unique hybrid of a flower? And yes, some people may not like the word hybrid, but folks, there are some natural hybrids in the nature as well. So many times bees will take pollen from one type of a flower, go to another flower, and then before there would be, totally like pure roses, and then you find here like, little different colored roses or pansies or impatiens and so many other flowers that things happen. So that's what happened with me. And after that, just love writing. And currently I'm writing my 16th book, Peter.
Wow. And I want to ask you what that book's going to be about, because of course, when we talk about books, it is essential, in my opinion, being an author as well, to know that we're only as good as our last book. Because someone reads that book, they don't like it, they're not going to read any of the others, right? So what's this book about, and why is it so special?
So my most books are on leadership and entrepreneurship, and I'll tell you, the reason the 16th book is so special is because I transition into becoming a positioning advisor. And when I talk about positioning advisor, is that it doesn't matter whether you're an executive, whether you're a corporate professional, you're an entrepreneur, you're a coach, wherever you are at, how are you positioning yourself in your mindset? How are you positioning in your message? How are you positioning yourself in the market? How are you positioning every single time you show up? So positioning is not just like taking your brand and creating logos and colors. It's about the mindset and message and living the message. So that's why it's special. And it's just not based on my experience. After helping over 100 authors take their message into a book, and that into a best-selling book, it's a culmination of a lot of experience and a lot of learnings. And after coaching thousands of people across 90 countries, learning that, it doesn't matter where people are from, what culture they are from. People are people. We are all are connected by our aspirations, our dreams, and our pains and sufferings and desire to pass on goodness to our next generation, to our family, and to the community. So it's a culmination of bringing a new type of positioning into the market. It's just not about positioning yourself, but positioning yourself in such a way that you transition from being an expert to authority to becoming an influencer. An influencer that's just not about themselves, but they're about the community. They're about giving back. They are about like a tide. One of my most favorite quotes is, "A rising tide lifts all boats." And that's why this book is so special to me. And I'm pouring my heart and soul into it. And of course, as it says, there may be things that you may not like, and it may be not for everyone. But I know for a fact that it will appeal to a lot of different people, and there may be some hard work in it. But folks, things just don't happen in a day. A tree does not grow in a day. Similarly, you cannot put a lasagna in the oven and expect it to be, let's say if it says 45 minutes on the package, you can expect it to be done in 10 minutes. The same way, it takes time to build. And so that's also one of the points I'm bringing across, and just kind of bringing that positioning in real life. So when you live your life, day-to-day life, you are bringing that joy back in your personal life, in your professional life, and passing that joy on to others, and developing your own essence, which is unique because you are unique.
No, that's beautiful. So I've got a question here about thought leadership versus influencers. What is their difference, if there is one at all?
No, that's a great question. My apologies. So thought leader usually in the industry is considered to be somebody who has the expertise, and a lot of people are looking towards them for their expertise. And when they say something, it matters. So for example, let's say, there are some policies going on, and now there may be a Harvard professor, who's brought in by the government, or they may be brought in by the organizations and asked about their opinion on the subject matter. There could be thought leaders who could be influencers. So there's a very fine line, the way I see that divides between thought leader and influencer. Influencer, in my definition, see, everybody has different definitions. I'm going to share my definition. To me, an influencer is somebody who takes upon themselves as to not only grow in stature for themselves, but also makes it her or his business to help others grow in their stature. So it's going back to the quote, is a rising tide lifts all boats. So they become the tide. They become the medium to bring about the change, not only within themselves, but in the surrounding sphere of influence, in the community, and beyond. And it could be the same for thought leader as well. They could be influencers and not be influencers, from my definition. So in my definition, thought leader is, again, just to kind of recap, is being that industry expert whose opinion, whose experience matters. In case of influencer, it's the same thing. The only thing is that they are taking it one more step beyond and extending it to the community and taking that message and making it a movement.
So now, when it comes, and here's where I'm getting a little controversial, but when it comes to Yeah, because I like that. To influencers, we need to also be a little bit careful, right? Because there are people out there creating a lot of influence that maybe shouldn't. I can just mention things like in YouTube, for example, or Instagram. We have a lot of influence created by people for the simple sake of cosmetic um, reasons, like, for example, likes, or because they get more money because they get more views. And unfortunately, with the amount of production of subjectivity we have today, this can actually be quite dangerous if somebody is positioned that way for profit and not for people. Don't you think?
No, you're absolutely right. And that's where, Peter, I shared my definition is for me, it's not about just being a social media influencer where you have, to me, okay, even if you have, let's say, 200 million followers, I'm just throwing out such a big number.
Yeah.
And you are doing a great job of getting your likes, of getting them to follow you. And at the same time, if you are creating divisiveness and at the same time you're not uplifting them, to me, that's not an influencer. I guess you can call them an influencer by Wikipedia or other definitions because they are influencing the behavior of their masses.
Yeah.
But to me, unless it is for the upliftment of others, unless it is for the greater good, we can, in my definition, not call them a positive influencer. So we can take that influencer definition and even further break it down into being a negative influencer and a positive influencer.
I like that. I like that. I actually would like to be able to extract the word influencer from the people who do it in a negative way. You know? Yeah, that would be a nice project to undertake, actually. Okay, so that's actually really interesting. I want to get that book. Do you know when it's going to be out?
I am just finishing it off, and it's going to be probably, don't want to put a timeline on it because one thing that I've found is that, for me, for folks, everybody works differently. For me, because, I'm helping so many other authors. So for me, they come first, their timelines are first. And if it means that, my team is working to get their project finished and my project needs to take a back stand, I'm totally cool with that. That's why I never assign a time, but like you said, you're planning to invite me back again.
Yes.
And of course, Peter, I'm going to be inviting you to have a preprint copy for reading so that I can get your review for that.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Oh,
it's an honor.
Thank you for agreeing to read my book.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. I know how difficult it is when you write a book and to actually put it out there and give it to somebody. Yeah. I don't know if this has happened to you, but it happens to me. I'll write my book and I'll give it to my family and I'll give it to my friends. And next thing you know, you have a conversation with somebody, they're talking, we're all talking, it's all nice. So some people that you haven't even met and they go, hey, yeah, I loved your book. And then you look at your family member or your friend and you're like, yeah, you have it. What do you think of it? Yeah, I haven't read it. Mm-hmm. They got it for free. They're your family, man, and they haven't read your book. And there are other people saying, yeah, I love the book. And it's a little bit embarrassing, but I think it's a reflection of what coaching is as well. Like we can't really coach our own family and our own close friends. But do you have that same experience? How is it in your life?
Oh, you said it. It's the same. So after my second book, I stopped giving my book to my family. That's what I'll say that. And my close friends. Because it's, here's the thing. They love you for who you are. And at the same token, because they're loving you, I don't want to put any pressure on them that, oh, they want to feel embarrassed. Oh, I did not have a time to read it. I don't know what it is, Peter, but it's not only between the experiences you have had and I've had, but after coaching 100 authors, everyone has had the same experience. And as you said, they say that there's a saying, I don't remember if it was you who shared or who shared that, if it's a wise man is never considered a wise man in his own town. So it's the same thing in your family and your friends. It's, oh yeah, that's just Divya. Oh, that's Peter. We've seen Peter all around. So which is great that they're treating you the same as you were before. So you need that. It's really important to have those mirror friends. And I'm very fortunate. I do have a couple of mirror friends, and folks, you might be thinking, what are mirror friends? So mirror
I
friends
answered
are
to that.
somebody who will reflect exactly the back. Hey, I've had a couple of my friends, you know what? This book sucks, man. I've I've had people say that to me, and I'm like, thank you. I really appreciate that. And sometimes they don't know from which angle it's been written, so it's not for them, because I write very specifically for my reader who knows to appreciate it. And it's for example, this upcoming book, it is for somebody who really wants to play full out in life, who wants to show up every single day. It's not just like, oh, you know what, I'm going to be going and coaching a group of executives. Let me be great just in front of them. I'm out of there and I'm sitting and having a coffee with my friend. And oh, yeah, there were a bunch of loonies. No, it's about every single moment of your life. You cannot show up fully, folks. I definitely guarantee you that. But it's about that aspiration. For me, this upcoming book is for that person who's ready to take on their lives, put the life back into their lives. And folks, I'm going to challenge you to go back and really check your life, really how much life is there in your life at the end of every single day, or to make it simpler, at the end of every week. Can you sit and write down how many remarkable moments you've had that you'll remember for the rest of your life? And now you may ask me the same question back, and I'll share that, every week. I will share that, yes, I don't have hundreds of moments, but I at least have scores of moments where I feel awed. So just as an example, I want to share, I love mentoring students. I love working with inner city kids. I love working with, folks who don't have as many opportunities as some of us might have, or they don't have, or they've not been exposed to different things. So for example, STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. Not everybody's exposed to that. So my team, I coach, I'm their business leadership coach for a robotics team. And we have been competing. The build season was in for past few months. It's been very, very hectic. We were in Asheville, North Carolina for one of our regional competitions. And, initially our team did not have much money. So these kids figured out how to print the parts using 3D printer and just finding, some nuts and bolts, going to Lowe's, Home Depot, and just kind of finding stuff and just kind of working out, being innovative. They came together working as a family, and the robot is breaking down, and they came up with a good design. It did not work in the first one, but they went ahead and changed it and did everything. And of course, I've been coaching them from past year, and this year what I did was I took a step back. The student leaders of the robotics team, I let them coach the younger students. And of course, I was coaching the team leaders, but just kind of watching them, how they were passing on that message and passing on that enthusiasm and just the need and the drive to have that, just, that we gotta keep on moving forward. Doesn't matter if you're winning or not. And here's what I want to share, folks. They did not win. They did not go to the state championship. They did not get any awards for designs or for mechanics or anything like that. But when judges came to their pit, judges came at least 4 or 5 times, I don't know exactly how many times. And as they interviewed different members of the team, they found that this team was still enthusiastic to participate. And these are young students. You're talking like 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, and they're talking about emotional intelligence and they're talking about leadership. And they were given judges award for emotional intelligence and leadership. To me, I cannot tell you how proud I am of my team. And in that moment, folks, not only when the award was announced, but throughout the 4 days of competition, seeing these students, like, finding the robot has broken down and it's fallen off and they're picking it up and still going, those are the moments of awe in my life. So that's what coming back. And in those moments, in these small experiences, you're with a client and you see that aha moment happen. You see the breakthrough coming. That's when I feel like an influencer. That's when I feel that full like rejuvenation and recharge. And I cannot tell you the happiness that I get. And to me, that's being an influencer. So going back to the story, they got an award for leadership and emotional intelligence. I mean, these young kids. And to me, that was like the biggest crown anybody could give me, or the biggest nomination or the leadership award I could receive, because my students got that award. And just by that, in somebody else's joy, when you find that joy, folks, there's nothing like that joy. Because these students are going to go out as they go into colleges and shine the light differently and shine the light in so many different places and be their own influencers. So folks, I do invite you to think about it. How many remarkable moments do you have every week?
Well, that's really beautiful. And I think it's a reflection that we really should be making every week, every day, whenever we can. And I would suggest to write it down. To be honest, I would suggest to write it down, because it's something beautiful that, have you ever had a great idea and all of a sudden it disappears simply because you did not write it down? So those moments when you write them down, I think they mean something. And if you write it down, it means something for longer. I'm a big fan of writing things down, and I have my little system of archiving stuff, of filing. I file by notebooks. But I don't file by notebooks by subject. There's like 20 different subjects in each notebook, But it's by, there you go. There you go. And we do it by, right, basically, I have a notebook in each room. I just don't want to be caught without one. And yes, I do have one in the car. I do have one in the motorcycle, and I do have one in the bathroom. It's just the way it is. Sometimes those are the most incredible moments, when you're totally alone, totally focused on what you're doing, and boom, it hits you. So if we're reflecting on something like the great moments you're having in your life, and the moments that you're grateful for, I think it's very important to write it down so that we can look back and realize how even in the toughest moments, we really truly have moments of being blessed.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's where I say that, my book is for that special person who wants to really live life and who wants to enjoy life, bring that joy back, not only in their own lives, but in joy of the others' lives.
Now, that just made me think of the divide between work and family, and how so many executives go out there. This is also why I work from home. That so many executives out there go out and give their best energy, their best moments of the day, their best smile, to everybody they're in front of. And then when they come home, they're too tired to give their best.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is painful. This is a bit sad. And like you said, you're going to show up all the time. But if you're going to be selective of where you're going to show up, you better show up where it really matters, right? That I've seen it a little too much in this world, and I think that we should really be present, like you say. We really should. Let's talk a little bit about mindfulness, shall we?
Absolutely.
So a lot of our listeners out there don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So can you explain it to us?
Absolutely. So here's what I would like to share. Mindfulness, a lot of people think, oh, it's a buzzword, meditation is a buzzword. But folks, here's the thing. Mindfulness, like when we break it up, people are like, okay, what you being mindful of? Is a mind that is full of something? And I say, yes, it's a mind that is full of the present moment. And this again goes back to showing up and playing full out. And my definition is very different from any definitions that are out there. And I'm going to share my definition, folks. It is a deliberate choice, it's a deliberate decision of being present in the moment with non judgment and compassion. And when you are there without any judgments, and judgment does not happen just by on its own, it's a continuous practice, folks. That's why mindfulness is so important. It's about trying and retrying. And the reason I bring two things, non-judgment and compassion, is because we as human beings are perfectly imperfect. At least I can speak that for myself. I don't know about anybody else. But I can say that with a guarantee that I am perfectly imperfect. So if I have these very, very high expectations that I'm never going to make a mistake and I'm never ever going to fall down, scrape my elbows and bruise my knees, then that's such a false expectation, and I'm creating a judgment on something that I cannot perform, and it's a really good recipe for unhappiness and disaster, folks. I would like us to go back to our childhood and think about it. When that baby starts smiling, oh my goodness, we as parents or aunts or uncles, or even if you're in a middle of a grocery store, a baby smiles at you, you smile back. And you'll make a compliment. You'll acknowledge it to the parent. Oh, your baby's beautiful. Look at the baby, so alert. The minute they start crawling, they'll fall down and you're cheering them on. Why do we lose that compassion and the enthusiasm and playfulness as we grow up? Why do we have to perform at high levels for us to say that, we need to be celebrated? Our life is to be celebrated, folks. You are to be celebrated just by the fact that you're breathing. Think about it. There could be a day, you're gone and the world continues. The world's not going to stop without you. Yes, people will cry, your friends, families, close, but even they, after a year, they will remember you in their heart. But life continues, folks. So why wait for like huge things? To me, mindfulness is recognizing the present moment and the beauty of the gift that we have received and enjoy it, but without any expectations, without any judgment, and compassion. And the reason I talk about compassion is that you're going to fall, but cheer yourself for getting up again. Cheer yourself for being there. And sometimes it's going to happen that you are going to be engaged and productive in so many different things and you may not be aware. But when you're fully in the flow, that's being mindful. When you are sitting on the beach and enjoying the sunset, that's being mindful. When you love something that you do, let's say you're dancing and you don't know where you are and you're so thoroughly filled with joy, that's mindfulness. You're playing a piano and you love it. You are riding your bike, just going at full force. That's mindfulness. You're running and you are in the moment. That's mindfulness. You're playing any musical instrument and enjoying it. That's mindfulness. You're spending time with your friends and family and having a wonderful time. That's mindfulness. So mindfulness is cherishing those moments. It's not like you gotta go sit on a yoga mat and do Om and only then you're going to experience it. It's bringing that awareness into your life. And that's, again, I talk about how do you show up? Do you want to show up for yourself or not? Because you are the most important person that's out there. You spend the most time with yourself, folks.
This is very true. And I think compassion is a very important key and very key factor right now in today's world. You know, in a world where things and situations happen, you know, things can be tough for people at times. And we need to understand through empathy and compassion that these things can happen to anybody. It can happen to you, it can happen to me.
Mhm.
And I believe that if we have compassion, we have empathy, we can make this world a much, much better place. And I believe that it is the responsibility of every leader to be compassionate and to have empathy. What do you think?
Absolutely. I'm even going to take it one step further, Peter, and say it's responsibility of every human being, because we are here as caretakers of the planet. We don't own it, folks. You know, we are going to pass it down to the next generation. We are just here. We are just travelers. You're passing through, and you may be like, what you're talking about? Generate something. And I again go back to nature, you know, just like ocean, and ocean is an undying source of food for us. So why not? Why can't we be something that leaves something behind for somebody? Not only leaving behind, but while you're living, giving something back. And as you're doing that, and it does not have to be, folks, I'm not saying that you gotta go and be Mother Teresa or Nelson Mandela or Mahatma Gandhi or Florence Nightingale or Martin Luther King or so many other great people who have been out there. You can just be walking down your path and just give smile to a few strangers. You're sitting in a car, folks. Yes, oh, that guy cut me off. I'm going to go in the right lane, zoom, and I'm going to cut right in front of him. I gotta do that. No, he may be having a bad day. You don't know. His boss may have given him a lecture, or we don't know. He wants to go, let him go. So if you are at an intersection, let somebody who's making a left turn or a right turn, let them in. So yes, you can give back wherever you are at without spending any more time on it, without spending any more energy or effort. But of course, if you want to spend more time and energy, I think so the world will definitely be a better place. But just by being you and practicing that mindfulness and compassion and empathy, the world around you will be a better place. And let's bring a little science into it. There have been studies after studies that have shown that happiness is contagious. So if you go home smiling, and let's say your spouse, they've also had a bad day and they come in and they're not smiling, and you're just a little empathetic and like, okay, you know, how was your day? Depending whether they're working or not working, or regardless, and just sharing a little compassion, and you'll find that that's going to release their pressure, give them time to relax and show some empathy. And then your kids, and maybe, you know what, they're making a ruckus in the house, or maybe they are not totally up to the par, but just kind of like, you know, bringing them in and showing that compassion and creating that human to human interaction and experiences. Experiment it, folks. I do invite you to experiment it. A couple of simple things. It could be just do one thing for yourself. Just commit to yourself that, you know, today I am going to give one smile every single day to one stranger. One simple goal that can be achieved, and you'll find that you'll really feel good. Because let me ask you this, Peter. If I were to tell you that I can put $1 million in your pocket right now, would you say yes?
I know you, so I would say yes, you can.
Okay, so there's a little complexity to it. Every single time, folks, you smile, you get the same benefit as if you had, I think so, 10 or 20,000. I do not remember the exact number. If somebody were to give you that much money and the feeling that you get, and now if you're smiling, the feeling that you get are equivalent. Brain doesn't know the difference. So children smile 400 times a day, and adults smile only 20 times a day. So the more you'll smile, if you add up the pricing, you'll feel like a millionaire. So why do you want to wait? How to feel like a millionaire? Just bring some laughter and smile back. It's so simple, folks.
The
And
power of a
smile
smile is
is very
amazing.
contagious.
It is. It's a beautiful thing. When you just see people, and this is one thing I love about living in Spain. You walk down the beach and people are smiling and they go,
Ah,
"Buenos dias," and it's a beautiful thing, and I love it. Um, both you and I have moved around a bit, haven't we? Now I know that every time that I've moved countries, and I'm going for my 15th time now. Yeah. uh,
wow.
yeah, it's a bit much now. So every time I've moved countries, or every time I've moved cities, what happens is that I find myself alone, and two things see me through and create friendships, and really long-lasting friendships. And any of my friends can attest to this. Number one is that I smile a lot. I just smile at people and I say good morning. And I might be in a society where it is not, they're not used to it. And they can't help it. They just smile back. I don't know what they're thinking, but they're smiling back, you know? And this is nice. And the other thing is I use genuine compliments, and I do my best to give at least, when I'm new in the country, to give at least 5 genuine compliments to somebody. And and this forces me to look into the good of people. And funny
Mm-hmm.
enough, if you look into the good of people, you're also looking into the good of you. And
Mm-hmm.
that makes you feel grateful. And when you do this together with the smiles, powerful tools.
Agreed.
No, I'm loving this conversation. You and I can go on for hours, and we know this.
Oh, yes.
Let us tell you something. When Divya and I get together to have a conversation, we might book half an hour. We end up doing an hour and a half. This is what happens. Okay, so shall we close this up? What could you say to our audience that is the most important thing that they can do today to be mindful?
Mm. I would say that one simple thing, as I'll probably give 3 simple things, is Peter, like you said, just smile wherever you are at. And when you smile, it just brings the whole body into a different relaxation mode, folks. And then the second is, I will just say, become aware of your breath. I'm not going to ask you to like breathe in a different way or anything like that. Just be thankful for that breath. Simple thing. It's right there. It's a tool that's next to you every single moment of the day. And then third thing I will say is that bring that awareness as a joy into your body and mind and soul.
Well, we're going to have you back here soon.
It'll be my pleasure and honor to be back.
Thank you so much, Divya. And well, thank you guys, everybody in Radio Latino Inc., everybody in Los Angeles and Mexico, all over Latin America, here in Spain, all over the US. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, please feel free to message the radio station, and we'll be really happy to answer any questions you have for us.
Thank you so much, Peter. Really appreciate it.